This is Everybody Pulls the Tarp with your host, Andrew Moses. Each week, Andrew talks with Olympians, pro athletes, TV stars, Grammy winners, best-selling authors, CEOs, and other high performers to uncover their success secrets.
My guest is Washington Commanders running back Austin Ekeler.
Every day we write a page of our life. The best thing is you have the pen in your hand.
Three-time Olympic gold medalist Tessa Virtue. Welcome back to Everybody Pulls the Tarp.
Thanks for thinking of me, and I'm a big fan of the podcast and of yours. So anytime you text or call, I'm here.
Mike Mills from REM.
The key to that was realizing at some point fairly early on that this was probably our life's work.
Every conversation is jam-packed with inspiration and actionable ideas.
My guest is 2023 WNBA Coach of the Year, Stephanie White.
The hardest thing for a coach is trying to prioritize how much time you put in one area or another.
Former MLB player, coach, and manager Clint Hurdle.
That is the best title of any podcast out there in America, and the content matches up to it. Andrew, you do a fantastic job. I'm a big fan. Keep up the great work.
World-renowned organizing expert Shira Gill.
You can improve your life simply by removing things.
Get ready for a behind-the-scenes look at the techniques, processes, and mindsets powering the world's most successful people.
Let's go. Hi, friends, and welcome back to Everybody Pulls the Tarp. This week, my guest is CBS Mornings director Kelly Casse. Well, listeners, the first time that I saw a behind-the-scenes video of Kelly doing her work that she had shared on her Instagram page at Kelly Directs, I was simply amazed. And to be honest, kind of out of breath just watching her work. As the director of CBS Mornings, Kelly works with a team of camera operators, graphics operators, associate directors, editors, writers, producers, and many more, and sits at the helm of the entire show. In real time, Kelly decides and signals what camera goes on air and how it looks, how the visual is cut, when to cut, how and when to dissolve the video, and so much more. In its simplest terms, Kelly is the last set of eyes before content goes on air, and Kelly ultimately decides how it looks to all of us viewing at home. And the best part? She does it in real time, because it is live TV. As I mentioned moments ago, the first time I saw a behind-the-scenes video of Kelly performing her craft, I was out of breath just watching. It was practically dizzying and totally baffling to me how someone can juggle so much in a single moment. At that moment, I knew that I had to learn more. I wanted to know more about how she does her work, how she prepares, how she stays focused, ties everything together, makes important decisions in real time, and so much more. And I was also curious to learn more about the team around her, because work like this is truly a team effort. So I reached out to Kelly, and we recorded the conversation you are about to hear. But before we get to the conversation, let me tell you a bit more about Kelly. Kelly started her career at CBS during the summer of 2005 as a freelance production associate, and has since climbed the proverbial ladder from there. Her directing career began in 2016 on the 4 a.m. morning news show as a backfill. She joined Saturday mornings in 2017 and took over that role officially in 2019. In 2024, she moved over to CBS Mornings. Over the course of her entire career so far, Kelly has covered everything from the takedown of Osama bin Laden, to the last 4 presidential elections, to Gayle King being launched into space, and everything in between. Kelly has been an instrumental part of CBS network show and studio launches, breaking news special reports, and the day-to-day directing and operations at CBS Mornings. Kelly was part of a directing team. She was an associate director at the time that won an Emmy Award for CBS This Morning. And Kelly was nominated for an Emmy for Best Directing for CBS Saturday Morning. Kelly describes herself as a sleep-deprived mom of 3 young kids under 5. After all, as CBS Mornings director, Kelly walks in the door at CBS on weekday mornings at 4 a.m. for a show that starts at 7 a.m. Well, in our conversation, we explore it all. Kelly's career journey, how she does her work, what happens behind the scenes to bring a live news show to life every day, and so much more. Kelly shared many of the mindsets, ideas, and decisions that have shaped a journey that's taken her to the epicenter of the news. As you will hear, so much of Kelly's success is a product of her extraordinary work ethic, collaborative spirit, and deep passion for what she does. This conversation is all about what's possible when we are willing to put in the work and focus on the little details, all while lifting others up along the way. The ideas that Kelly shared apply far beyond the news and journalism, and I hope you take away as much from this one as I have. Oh, and one more thing. This podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. It is not intended to be a substitute for the advice of a physician, psychotherapist, or other qualified professional. So, let's pull the tarp and get straight to Kelly Casse. Where I want to begin, you walk in the door every single morning at CBS at 4 o'clock in the morning for a show that starts at 7. I just want to start at basic Kelly Casse logistics. What time do you go to sleep the night before? What time do you wake up? How do you get there? How does Kelly Casse boot up for a day like you have?
Well, if it was 2 weeks ago, I would have said a lot of Diet Coke, but I'm trying to cut it out. So I normally go to bed. It's hard. I have 3 little kids under the age of 5, so kindergarten, preschool, and then a 2-year-old. And they don't go to bed until 7:38. And so then by the time I get my life situated and wind down, it's usually between like 9 and 10, right? And then I wake up, 2:45, my alarm goes off. I get ready. I leave by 3:20, 3:30 to get to work. And I'm in the door at 4 o'clock. And yeah, that's kind of how I start my day. That's what my schedule looks like on a regular basis. I drive into work. Sometimes if I'm lucky, I can park right outside the building. I have press plates, which is kind of cool. But if not, there's like a lot right down the street that I park at. So that's how I get here.
So everybody's wondering, is there a nap anywhere in there?
There is a nap. Yeah. No, I don't live on, in college, I probably like functioned when I was here between college and like my young 20s. I functioned maybe on like 5 hours of sleep. That does not bode well for anyone's health, right? I've learned it the hard way. So I do try to come home and take a nap. If I can get like a solid hour and a half nap in, I'm pretty good. I would say it happens maybe like 50% of the time. And if I skip a nap or whatever, like in a day, 2 days in a row, after 2 days in a row, it's like I have to go to bed at like 8 o'clock. Like pass the kids off to my husband, put them to bed. It cannot be done. My body will not function.
Okay, Kelly, I want to get into what happens. Now we know what happens between like 2:30, 2:45, and 4 a.m. I want to get into what happens between 4 a.m. and 7 a.m. when the show goes on. But before we do that, let's frame up for everybody listening exactly what you do. Because the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to encourage everybody to go check out your Instagram page at Kelly Directs. This was how I first ran across your work and what you do. Kelly, you are a multi-camera live director. The first time I saw a video behind the scenes of what you do, I was dizzy. I was stressed out just watching. Okay, so describe for listeners what a multi-camera live director is at CBS Mornings, what you do, how it looks. Paint that scene, and then I want to get into the logistics of everything.
Sure. So as the director of CBS Mornings, I work with a team of camera operators, graphics operators, associate directors, production associates, technical team, top to bottom, editors, writers, producers behind me. And I basically sit at the helm of the show. So I'm the last set of eyes before things get to air, and I decide how it looks. So multi-camera just means multiple cameras, right? So some shows have just 1 or 2 cameras, and then our show has 6 cameras. So I have 3 camera operators for 6 cameras, which a couple months ago we didn't. We had a full complement of 7 cameras and 7 operators. We have now changed with the technology into RoboCam. So I have 1 camera operator that operates 4 cameras, which is like mind-blowing. You should see her in action. She's insane. Late is her name. And then I have a steady camera, which is my operator class wears the camera and he physically like moves around the set with the talent or runs to go get guests or whatever I need him to do in that aspect. And then I have a jib, which is a camera basically attached to like a long arm, and it makes those nice swooping motions. So my job is to tell the story, depending if we're sitting at the desk and it's cutting from camera to elements of tape and video, and I guess it's not tape anymore, it's just video, or graphics with audio to kind of tell you at home what the story is happening. And then when we move into the living room setup, which is more of our conversational variety show type of a show, that's when it turns more into conversation and following the action in the conversation, which, allows for the jib shot, the steady to get in there and get certain shots for me as well. So what I do basically is put on 2 hours of a production and send it to you at home.
And you are in real time calling what camera goes on air, what video goes up, how you cut, when you cut to the video, when you dissolve the video, how you dissolve the video.
Nothing happens without me. Nothing. And if it does, there is a problem.
And the amazing part about it is that nothing is happening without you, and you're doing it all in real time.
Yes. So some of it's scripted, right? So some of it's following the script as the writers and the producers want it to be. And then the rest of it is live editing on the fly. And it's anticipating. So something that's, people say like, your intuition is really great. Yes, my intuition is pretty good. Knock on wood. I've done really well with being able to read people. But you also see when they want that next question. When they lean in to talk to somebody, you see the relationships happening. So in those conversations, you're basically anticipating what's going to happen, but you're also reading your talent and you're reading the guest. And you have a different guest come in each segment, so you don't know them, right? I don't know, who did we have today? Dana White from the UFC. I don't know Dana White versus, I know Gail King. I know what Gail King, actually, I never know what Gail King's going to do. But in theory, I know what she's supposed to do or how she will react to something. But yeah, it's live editing and it is staying on top of everything. And as soon as they say, Dana said something about the White House, the UFC game at the White House, it's going to that picture, showing what that is so that people at home can follow that in real time.
Have you always been a great multitasker? Have you always been one of these people who could like walk and chew gum at the same time?
I like to think so. I also think that it's funny because, and this is nothing to sound controversial, but a lot of people say like, oh my God, I never knew like a job like this existed for someone with ADHD. And I'm like, I'm not saying you can't do it if you have ADHD. I don't have ADHD. I just function at that at all times, right? And it's a learned skill. I've worked 20 years in this industry to try and get that skill set of being able to listen to what you're saying on camera, look at what the elements I have. I researched before, like I get one sheets. And sometimes I will look at what the questions are and tee it up with the elements. And then it's following it in real time. And if I don't get to look at it, they're on for a movie. So I'm going to show the movie, right? I'm going to show the movie elements, show the B-roll of the movie, show the stills of the movie, the pictures. They're with the director. There's the picture of the director. So it's just about knowing where your sourcing is and how things are channeled in our show and being able to react to that. But I've always been a pretty good multitasker. I like to pick things up and then like do something else and then I forgot. So I'm in this constant battle of like never getting anything accomplished in my real life. But at work, I feel like I can turn it on everywhere because I do. I listen to the front row. I listen to the AD next to me. The front row isn't. I listen to the people in front of me, which are the monitors. I listen to the talent on screen. I listen to my associate director next to me. I listen to the producers behind me out of like my other ear. Here's my headset. So it's like, how I wear my headset. I have like one ear open to my technical director. My AD's on the other side. I just hear her intuitively. And then listening to the back row behind me because they're saying stuff behind you that they're doing and planning and changing. And they're not necessarily telling you because they're trying to make it happen. So I think it's more of a listening skill set and an action reaction.
How do you balance kind of sticking with a game plan and then adjusting, kind of pushing boundaries, pushing limits, kind of doing something creatively that maybe you weren't expecting in the lead up?
So in the morning, like when I get in at 4:00 in the morning, I'll go through the rundown and I'll pre-block everything out, right? So if we have more than 2 guests and it's a 3-guest situation, like I will change where we shoot that on set. Or if it butts up against like our deals segment or it butts up against a demo segment, I change where we sit in the studio and how we do things to make it work, right? Because I have a 3-minute commercial break to execute that and execute the cameras moving. And it's very different now. It's actually been a real challenge for my brain because when we were in 1515 in Times Square, the old TRL studio, we had all manned people that when you said move, everybody moved at once, right? As soon as you hit black, everybody moves. When something happens on the fly, everybody reacts. Now you're working with new technology and it's a bunch of robots and it's one person trying to move all 4 of them. And if you get too close to them, the camera's actually a stop, which is a huge issue. So things that used to happen a little more on the fly don't happen as quickly as they used to. I mean, it's something we're learning to anticipate and change, and things will always happen in live news and live television, and something always will change. I rely on my steady camera operator for that. I rely on my jib operator for that. And that's what you almost need to do. You need to say, okay, I have 6 cameras for this setup. Crap's going like shit's hitting the fan. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
You could say whatever you want.
It's hitting the fan. Then where do you go? You just lean on your wide shot, right? Or you send the steady camera somewhere else to pick up something. And that's kind of how I react to the things that happen on the fly. In terms of creativity, I try to plan that out beforehand. Even like they book something for Monday that we're already talking about, and my associate director downstairs is looking at the shots for me right now, right? So those are things we try to get ahead of. Even next week, we have 5 guests with our 3 talent. We haven't done that in the studio space. We've done it in the old studio space, but I'm already thinking ahead. What stools are we using? Where are we shooting that? What does that look like? What cameras can get it? And sometimes, I know this sounds crazy, less is more, right? So just because I have 6 cameras doesn't mean 6 cameras is going to benefit the show that I'm putting on the air.
That is such an important lesson. I think that applies far beyond what you do. And I think applies to so many things that very often less is more. I also think there are some threads in there to put a pin in. I mean, certainly this idea that you talked about of having something to like steady to go back to, that when things aren't going as planned, or if there's a surprise, if you have a game plan as to kind of where you can kind of a home base you can go back to, that can be very helpful. I mean, I heard a lot about preparation, a lot about thinking ahead, all these different things that you're doing, juggling kind of in the lead up. So let's talk about like that window of time when the show is on the air. Do you just tune out all these other things that are going on in your life, both personally and professionally, and you are locked? I mean, I don't know how you could possibly think about anything else.
I mean, yes and no. I would say the more I've sat in the chair, the longer I've sat in the chair, I am able to like separate my brain. When breaking news has happened, like I am locked and loaded, right? For 2 hours, I really try not to ever leave the seat. And that's something that I've always done, because even if you run out in a commercial break, something could still happen, right? If the commercial machines go down, you have to come back to air. So there's not this like free window that you can just get up and leave. I do try to stay in it as much as possible. It's hard. Sometimes you start chit-chatting on the side about a segment or whatever during the commercial break, and then you're like, oh my God, we're 10 seconds back. I try to set myself up as soon as I get to break for where we need to go, and then give everyone a second to breathe and get there. And then I redial back in the last like 30 seconds before. But sometimes we're working right through the break because we're doing fixes, we're doing updates, we're doing promo shoots, marketing shoots. We're reading, a congratulations to somebody that's retiring. Like these are all things that we're fitting in commercial breaks, where sometimes you don't even have a break in 2 hours. You just go, go, go.
You mentioned the phrase breaking news. How does true breaking news impact your day, your approach, how you think about things?
I mean, when it's like real breaking news, when you're on the air or you're about to go on the air and something happens and you're flashing on for a special report, right? That means you're cutting across the networks. It's not like, oh, we're going up at 7 o'clock for the East Coast feed. We're going up at 8 o'clock for the Midwest feed. And then we go on at 10 for the West Coast feed. We basically feed the show out 3 times. We make adjustments and edits based on if anything changes in the story, to update for daylight, to update what somebody got captured. We'll update all of that so that the West Coast has the most up-to-date show when we roll it out at 10 a.m. East Coast time, which airs at 7 o'clock their time. In terms of actual breaking news, like a bridge collapse, right? Something happens like 5 o'clock in the morning. We flash on with a special report to tell America what's happened. And then normally it turns into like, you just go to live pictures. You go to whatever live pictures you have. You have no B-roll of it, right? It just happened. You have people running like downstairs in my hard news center, like running around like chickens with their heads cut off because they're trying to turn around all this tape so that as the talent and correspondents and reporters are reporting on the story as it's unfolding, you can support it with those elements. But in a day like one that sticks out in my mind was in DC when the planes crashed last year. And we sent Tony out there at like 6 o'clock in the morning. Like he was, right? Was it DC? I think it was DC.
Oh, yeah. We remember it well. I live here in the DC area.
It happened overnight, right? It happened overnight. Yeah. And at 2 a.m., they were like, everybody was waking up and they were like, he's getting like in the car right now to go, or on a plane. I think it was, I don't know what it was. And he got on a plane. I think I saw him like walk into the building and he was there. So he wasn't there even for the beginning of the show. he missed the first like 10 minutes of the show and then we picked up, or maybe he had to move. I can't remember. But that you're getting reactions in real time, you're getting coverage in real time, and you're just staying on the pictures and supporting. And then it's a matter of trying to sensitively visualize that for people at home, right? It's pretty traumatic to watch something happen over and over and over. So it's trying to mix pictures that support the story, tell what's happening, but still be mindful, you know what I mean, of just the sensitivity around certain subjects.
I am obsessed with all the details. And that's why I'm going to go back to something you said a few minutes ago. You talked about updating for daylight. So what does that mean? That means over the course of the show, the talent is essentially retaping things so that people on the West Coast aren't watching it in the dark?
Yes, it's more of our, so when we tape at 7 a.m., we had Minneapolis today, right? Minneapolis, Tony was there on the ground in Minneapolis. I think they got kicked out, so they might not have done it today. But normally what they would do is they would stay and re-update their top into their piece. So like their little script, their 20-second, 30-second script into their package. And then they would update the out of it and throw back to an anchor in studio. And we would fix that for the next coast, or not fix it. It's not fixing. You're updating it for the next coast so that an hour later, any information you have, they've given you. Or when the sun is up at 7 o'clock in Minneapolis, an hour later, we're showing that we stayed on the story to update the time. So it's more correspondents do it. It's more, they feed it directly to Hard News. It doesn't come through us. It goes right to my editing center and they'll update that. So again, like I said, so you guys have each feed of the show has the most up-to-date version of the story. And so that it's not pitch black when really it's bright.
Kelly, I am curious. I recently had a conversation with Tony-nominated Broadway star Lorna Courtney, who starred as Juliet in the hit musical And Juliet. And we were talking about this idea of adrenaline. And she was comparing the idea that the time that she played Juliet in And Juliet and was the lead role in this hit musical to a time that she was a standby in Dear Evan Hansen. And she said that the adrenaline was actually harder to manage when she was a standby because she didn't know when she'd be going on. She wasn't going on nearly every night. And there were so many like unexpected kind of things. When she played Juliet, she knew it kind of after a couple nights, she said, just became a job. It kind of became, almost like driving, something that just comes naturally to you. And the adrenaline was so much less that she felt and so much easier to manage. Preparation was still the same. I'm curious, like, how do you think about adrenaline? Like, is it something for you that's just become like driving when you've got all those headsets on and you're listening to all these different people and you're calling out these different things? Talk about that.
It's funny because today we had like guest after guest after guest, and it's live chat after live chat. And for some reason, when I ended the show, I felt like I was like up here, which normally I end the show and I'm like, okay, switch. But for fade to black, we switch, we're off the network. But for today, for some reason, I just felt like all this, not pressure, a little bit of excitement, a little bit of like, where are we going to go with this? This is a lot to do in 30 minutes, right? Like live guests back to back to back is a lot to turn around for the floor, for the cameras, for the elements. And it's a lot for your brain to just hone in on, right? Directing is actually mentally draining. And when we did 3 hours, we don't do plus anymore. That has dissipated as of 2 months ago. But when we did 3 hours straight, by the time I got to the third hour, I would be like slumped in my chair, like, oh my God, here we go again. And then I'd have to sit up and like regroup. So I do think adrenaline gets you through a lot of it. When it's breaking news, you're definitely all adrenaline, right? You have no idea what's happening. You're just winging it. You want to put on a clean show. That's always my goal, is for it to be clean and make sense. I don't want mistakes. I don't want spelling errors. I don't want to roll the wrong video. I'm almost more cautious. The same idea is that, as the Broadway actress was saying, like, you're on a higher alert when you're doing something that you don't do every single day. To get through the A block, if I'm following the script, I'm like, okay, ready to B, roll B, ready C, go C. It's the live stuff and the things that happen organically that really you have to be on your A game for. I mean, all things to be on your A game, but that's when you feel more pressure.
All right, everyone. We'll get back to the conversation momentarily. But first, I want to tell you about my free weekly email newsletter, Tarp Pullers. Each week, I share an uplifting and inspirational tarp pulling story that is sure to brighten your day. And I also highlight some of the most powerful ideas I've learned on my journey talking to 200 and counting of the world's top performers. The newsletter is short, concise, and a reader recently told me this. She said it makes her day every time it hits her inbox. Go to everybodypullsthetarp.com/newsletter to sign up today. Kelly, you talked about this idea of mentally drained, sometimes more than others. How do you manage that? Because in your job, tomorrow you've got to come back and do it all again. What does that look like for you?
I don't know. I do try to unplug when I get home. I'm always attached to my phone just in terms of if something happens, I need to know. But I've really tried to put a stopgap on when I check emails. I'll just wait till the morning. If they really need me, they will text me, right? The executive producer will text me. If a producer is really concerned about something, they'll text me. If not, when I do my hair in the morning, I will go start scrolling through my emails to kind of catch up on things before I get in the office. And then when I'm in the office, before the show, after the show, that's when I'm catching up on emails. I mean, what's happening day of and live always comes first. Everything else always comes after that. And that's what I tell my people in the chair too. Don't get ahead of yourselves. You have to, yes, we can look ahead, but you have to stay where you are. So I worry about day of, and then all the other noise I try to worry about afterwards. I mean, I try to spend more time with my kids as soon as, when I get home, because I miss them in the morning, right? I don't see them every morning. And then when you have a 4-year-old telling you at the end of the night, I really missed you today, Mom. And I'm like, oh my God, I know. So I really do try to be with my children when I'm home and my husband. And I try to work out when I get home from work and take care of errands as soon as I'm done at work. So that way I can go home. And then once they're off the bus, it's all hands on deck.
Kelly, let's dive into your story a little bit. So you first saw a TV studio newsroom when you were in high school because you were part of a production journalism program in high school, which sounds extremely cool that you had that opportunity in high school. Talk about that. What did you see? What was that moment like where you said, I am going to go do this?
It was actually my current job. And I came in. So somebody that lived in town was a director. And he brought in a bunch of kids from the school. We had a nice TV program at Mount Olive where I grew up, and it's even crazier now. Their facilities I wish we had that, anything even remotely close to that. And we came in and I saw it and I fixated on it immediately. I was like, I am going to do that one day. Not even I'm going to do directing. I was like, no, I'm going to have that job. And then I kind of wheedled my way in. I asked if I could come in and watch and intern and kind of get the ropes that way to learn how to do it. And it was kind of right place, right time. And they needed extra help. And I started freelancing.
So you just asked?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
can I come in?
Yeah. I'm definitely, I'm the most annoying girl you'll ever meet. Can I come in? Can I come shadow you? Can I have coffee with you? I am working on being the networking queen so that when somebody really big wants to do something cool, they'll be like, oh yeah, I think I know that girl. Maybe, probably not, but it's okay. But I am never afraid to ask somebody can I pick your brain? Can I grab a cup of coffee with you? Can I take you to lunch so that I can learn from them, right? And that's kind of how honestly, I did a lot of my networking now through Instagram. I've met so many people. I never knew anybody outside of the CBS bubble, anybody, until I started posting on Instagram and people started following. And then I started reaching out to camera operators that I really liked their work. And there's just one operator, Troy Livia, who's insane. And I was like, he's a steady cam operator. He does all the big events, Super Bowl, any musical production. He just did something last week that it's he books every single big gig. And I reached out to him and I was like, I watched Beauty and the Beast live. I heard you were the camera operator on it. I really loved this sequence in the performance. It was one of the dance scenes. And he was like, oh my God, thank you so much. And then we just started chatting back and forth. And then I started picking his brain about the choreography behind it and the blocking behind it. And that's kind of how that all started. And people have done that to me. And I try to give my time as much as possible. I mean, it's not that easy all the time. So everybody that's given me their time and been generous with their time, I'm so grateful for. I've had directors, Paul Dugdale, who's one of the biggest directors out there, Sandy Restrepo, Marcela Gama. These are all directors that I did not know of. And maybe I knew of them, but I didn't know on a personal level before I started Instagram. And I've built relationships with these people. And some of them have become, Marcela's become a huge mentor to me. So yeah, I was that person. I'm still that person. Hey, can I come watch you? Please. Please.
Kelly, I can't tell you how many of the almost 250 conversations I've had with Olympians, professional athletes, Broadway stars, Grammy winners, TV personalities, best-selling authors, entrepreneurs that come down to like a similar story like you just described. Somebody just asking a question, asking for someone's time, taking an opportunity that someone else might not have taken, doing kind of the harder thing when most people do the easier thing. Like so often these success stories, I find, they come back to this common idea that people did something that most people wouldn't do. That's really kind of simple, but just not easy, and therefore not done all the time. And that's just what I hear in what you're describing there. Not that what you're doing is easy, but some of the building blocks underneath your career are these simple things that so many people don't do.
I think people are scared to scared what other people will think of them, right? Like I had a producer come in here, an AP the other day come in here and basically ask me about my career and, how I got here and all that stuff. And I basically said, I'm like, exactly what you put into it is exactly what you're getting out of it, which I know everybody says, but there's nothing truer. I gave up a lot of my college life. I was freelance throughout college. I would put a drink down. I'd just get to a party. I'd be like, I'm going to have a great night. And they'd call me and I'd be like, never mind. I'm actually going to go into work. Or instead of going out with my friends, like I went into work, but I had a job full time by the time I was just my last semester of college. I was already full time at CBS. I was working overnights on the overnight schedule. I worked on the overnight schedule. First off, there's no good schedule in television. I don't care what anybody tells you. There's no dream schedule. They all suck. But I think people are afraid of what people will think of them, right? So saying to a director that does all these big events, can I pick your brain for 20 minutes? People might be like, oh my God, that's really cringy. Why would you ever do that? I mean, even I look back now and I'm like, wow, that's really cringy. But I'm like, but look at the relationships I have. What's the worst somebody says, no, I'm sorry, I don't have time, or they ignore you? Who cares? Whatever. Let that go. Somebody else will give you time. And then you give it to somebody else. I mean, that's the whole thing, right? It's people have been so generous with their time with me that people that ask me for time, I'm like, if I can do it, I will do it. Because I think it's exactly like today, going on a podcast. It's great to be able to have conversations with other people, get your story out, and teach other people how it works.
Kelly, 1000%. There is no question you are living the everybody pulls the tarp mindset every day. I want to talk about the tarp puller idea, the everybody pulls the tarp mindset a little bit, because you kind of created a nice little segue there, talking about, going to those parties, putting the drink down, running in, working the overnight shift, doing all these things that on the surface, like you said, just seem like from afar they suck, right? These are just challenging things that maybe aren't very glamorous, are nitty gritty things, but have been so critical to your success and are so important to everything that you do, everything that we all collectively do. So I started my career working in minor league baseball, and I went in that first day thinking I had this fancy front office internship. I had nice clothes on. And then the team's general manager tells me to bring a pair of old clothes the next day to keep at the ballpark so that I could help the grounds crew pull the tarp on and off the field whenever it rains. The rain was kind of like our breaking news, I guess you could say.
100%.
Be ready. And I kind of had this puzzled look on my face. The other new interns did as well. And the general manager explained that, in the minor leagues, we have the same grass, the same dirt, the same lines painted on the field. But the difference, the major league club, in our case, it was the Yankees were the major league counterpart. I was working in the AA affiliate of the Yankees in Trenton, New Jersey, the Trenton Thunder at the time. Yep. And he said that we have all the same things, except the difference is our big league counterpart has a much bigger budget and therefore a lot more personnel to do the job. So therefore, getting a tarp onto the field in the big leagues, they have 25, 30 people. We have 4 or 5. So everybody has to pitch in. Me, the general manager, you, the new intern, the CFO, the CMO, the merchandising people, everybody in between. Everybody has to pitch in. And the story didn't stop there. I pulled the tarp, but I also dressed as the mascot. When the mascot went away on his honeymoon, I inflated the moon bounces. I deflated the moon bounces. I drove players to the airport. I cleaned up fireworks debris when it blew into center field. Then we had a game the next day. I sold merchandise in the stands. Kelly, I did whatever was asked of me at any hour of the day. And looking back, it's one of the greatest career experiences I've ever had and really informed a lot of the way I look at the world personally and professionally. I am curious, when you think about this idea of doing these unexpected things, doing these nitty gritty, going above and beyond, are there moments that you can look back to and say, I lived that everybody pulls the tarp mindset that Andrew's describing?
Yeah, 100%. Like you were saying, I mean, it's a team effort, right? Everything I do every day is based on a team. And when somebody's not here, you have to pick up the slack, right? So just a prime example of this, and it sounds so silly, but my first job at CBS News was in the fonts and graphics department. And I would spell check and build all of the fonts. And then I would take them to air. I was a production associate. It was my first gig. I mean, really, graphics was my first gig, but same timeline, same span, same equal role. And like even 6 months ago, somebody called out and we couldn't fill the seat. So my one associate director basically was like, I will do both jobs. And I was like, okay, well, I'll build all the fonts. I'll build them for you so that you can at least get ahead with that. And then I'll help you call them. I mean, I've done that before. I've sat in their chair, like building the fonts as I'm trying to get ready to direct a show. So, I mean, I've done all of the seats. So I feel like that helps my mindset of how to help everybody. But you're not in this alone, and they need to feel that they're not in it alone either. So, you know, exactly like you're saying, there's no job that's too small. I mean, even like we did a floral arrangement. We did Maren Morris and we did a performance with her, and I wanted all these flowers. And the day before the performance, it was like signed off on that we could do this. And I was like, well, how the heck am I going to do this? I spent like 4 hours sitting in my living room, like making floral arrangements to bring in to the props team to like lay out, like just anything to make it look better. I'll go on like, you know, I'll work with the producers about like what to buy for certain scenic things, like anything to make it overall better, even if it's not my job, is still what encompasses what makes me proud to have the overall creative and visual hand in my line of work.
That is so central to living the everybody pulls the tarp mindset. This idea that it's all my job, right? Like if it can help the organization, if it can help the team, if it can help the production, I am willing to do it. It doesn't mean, I get this question a lot from listeners, does it mean that I shouldn't delegate? No, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't delegate. It doesn't mean that you don't need a team around you. In fact, it's entirely what you need around you in many, many instances. It just means that you are willing to do whatever it takes and you don't think that there's any job beneath you. It doesn't mean that you're necessarily doing every single job every single day. I mentioned Broadway before when I talked about the conversation I had with Lorna Courtney, who starred in & Juliet. I'm thinking back to another conversation I had with a Broadway star. I guess my mind is on Broadway today. Jenna Bainbridge, she plays Nessa Rose in Wicked on Broadway currently. After our conversation, she had me behind the scenes at the Gershwin Theater to see everything after the show and how it all comes together. And she said something, Kelly, that was absolutely staggering to me that I will never forget, but it's probably not surprising to you given the work that you do. She said, Andrew, she said, there's about 30 people that you see on stage when you see Wicked on Broadway. But there are about 175 people every single night at the Gershwin Theater who have a hand in bringing that production to life. It was incredible. I was like absolutely blown away.
Yeah, I mean, even I run a crew of, it's been scaled down since we've started like automating things a little bit, but I mean, at any given point, there's people in the field listening to me, people downstairs listening to me. I mean, there are 100 people plus helping bring you this 2-hour newscast from people in studio, producers. I mean, you see 3 faces on screen and more correspondence or whatever, but you say you see, again, 30 people in a day. There's 150 people that work here too, from the people that turn the lights on in the studio, the lighting director, the props team, the stage hands, the head carpenter. Like there are so many people that you don't see behind the scenes that really are who put it on the air every day. And I am just one small part of a very big team that works to, really, they all work to help me. And then in turn, I work to make the talent look really good, hopefully.
You do a great job of it, Kelly. One part of a very big and important team. Kelly, you have been so generous with your time. As we start to kind of wrap up our conversation, again, back to you a little bit and your story. If you had to think really hard and reflect, where do you think your extraordinary drive and work ethic comes from?
My parents. I mean, honestly.
Tell me more.
Probably my parents. I mean, my dad always worked really hard. He really he was out the door early. He came home late. He worked a ton. And we didn't grow up. I mean, we didn't grow up poor. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to like misconstrue anybody's thoughts. But we were raised that you didn't just get everything. So my mom owns a dance school, and still to this day, like 35 years, she's been at the helm of this studio, and we worked there. We went with her. And when I was 10 years old, 12 years old, I was assisting classes, right? When I was 14, I got my first job working at a physical therapy office. I mean, I did like cheerleading, dancing. I danced every day of the week. But before that, I did cheerleading. And then on days where my day was lighter and my dance schedule was later, I worked at a physical therapy office. So it was kind of always this mindset that if you wanted something, you had to work really hard for it. And both of my sisters are the same way. That's just something that's instilled in my family is you work, you put the work in, you put the time in, and you're rewarded for it, hopefully. And I do feel like it's been really rewarding, the path I took. And it does have a lot to do with how we were raised.
What is one thing that maybe you worried about a lot earlier in your career that you wish you hadn't spent so much headspace consumed with?
I guess if I was going to make it, I mean, I still worry about things in my career, right? Like I still worry about how the technology is changing and how that impacts what my job looks like in 10 years. And am I going to make it to the next big thing? Anybody watching this, I want to direct the Super Bowl halftime. Again, like that's something I probably will never direct the Super Bowl halftime, but I at least want to get to the point where it's like, well, maybe I was a contender for it. And I worry about that now. Like, am I ever going to do something more than this? And the answer is yes, but it's things that I still worry about. And I think that's something I always worried about. And while I wish I could say to myself, like, don't worry about it, you'll be okay. I always knew internally I'd be okay. I always knew that I would get to where I wanted to go. But I don't know. I guess I would say I don't know. I wouldn't say anything about it. I would say enjoy that because that's kind of what a little bit of the fire is, right? Like being worried about it puts a fire under you to overcome it.
I always say, I have this conversation with my wife all the time. Sometimes I say, I wish I would worry less. I wish I'd be less anxious. But I think the more I've thought about it, that worrying and being anxious about stuff just means that you care.
Right. Yes.
And
100%.
You can't separate the two. You can't separate kind of passion and care and not worry and concern about it.
No. And when you're in this position, like at a director position, something I was like bamboozled. Nobody told me like you're in charge of everybody, right? You're in charge of the whole crew. And while they have managers and everything else, you're day to day the figurehead that they look to, that they confide in, that they complain to, that they bring their worries to. So I do take that to heart. And things like upset me on the dime. Like there was one time, like I'm telling you, it was a week straight. We were going through a bunch of changes and staff changes. And it was like every day they like sneak the tissues like closer to me because it's like, I worry about people and their well-being and what happens to our show and what it looks like. But at the end of the day, like I care, right? I care about everyone I work with. I care about how we are a team and how we put something out for the rest of the world to see. All of those things matter to me. So like you said, like, yeah, you worry because you care. I do. 100%. I agree with that, Andrew.
Kelly, you have such an important, incredible responsibility. It is evident just how serious you take it and how deeply you care all about this. There is no question you are a tarp puller, certified member of the Everybody Pulls the Tarp family forever. I hope this is just the first of many conversations that we get to have. And maybe we'll have one debriefing a Super Bowl halftime that you direct and maybe some others in between.
From your lips to God's ears, Andrew, let me tell you. I hope so. Thank you. This was really great.
Kelly, thank you so much for sharing some of your time with me this week. And go get a nap, all right?
Thank you. I will.
Thank you for joining me this week. Be sure to subscribe in your favorite podcast app so you can catch all of our upcoming episodes. And if you're like me and want a world full of tarp pullers, then leave a review to help others find us. You can also follow me on Instagram at AndrewMoses123 and sign up for my email newsletter at everybodypullsthetarp.com/newsletter. I'll share tips and insights to help you achieve maximum success and happiness. Until next time, keep pulling the tarp.